You threw away free medicine this morning. Not metaphorically, literally, with your bare hands. The plant was growing in your garden bed. It pushed up through the mulch next to your tomatoes. You grabbed the stem, pulled it out, roots and all, and dropped it in the yard waste bin. You did this because every gardening guide you have ever read told you to. 7 plants, 7 weeds growing in gardens right now across this country. And the medical industry built its first billion-dollar years on the fact that you do not know what they are. One of them, the one with the thick, fleshy leaves that snap when you bend them, was used in field hospitals before aspirin existed. Army surgeons in 3 different wars packed wounds with it. It is growing in your garden right now, and you have been composting it. Another one, the pale green plant with the tiny round leaves that spreads low across the soil, contains more iron per gram than beef liver, more vitamin C than an orange. Ancient physicians prescribed it during famines because it was the only thing that grew when everything else died. It is probably spreading across your garden beds at this exact moment. Both of them look like weeds. Both of them get pulled. Both of them get thrown away by people who are buying supplements at $40 a bottle that contain a fraction of what grows wild for free. 7 plants, 7 stories, and by the time I finish, you will never look at your garden the same way again. But I need you to understand something first. This is not an accident. The knowledge that your great-grandmother carried, the names, the preparations, the timing, the parts of each plant that worked and the parts that didn't, that knowledge did not fade slowly over time like a song everyone forgot. It was replaced, deliberately, with something that required a transaction. In 1910, the Flexner Report restructured American medical education from the ground up. Botanical medicine was reclassified as unscientific. Herbalism was removed from medical school curricula within a decade. The professors who taught it retired. No one replaced them. The students who graduated after 1920 had never been taught to identify a medicinal plant. And by 1940, the pharmaceutical distribution model was fully operational. You could not fix a fever with something you grew. You had to buy something someone else made. Your grandmother did not forget these plants. She was the last generation taught their names. Her children were taught to buy instead. Her grandchildren were taught the weeds were problems to be eliminated. And here you are, standing in a garden full of medicine, pulling it out by the root. What I am about to show you cannot be bought. It cannot be patented. It grows for free in your soil and costs nothing to harvest. The herbicide industry generates $11 billion a year in the United States alone. Understand that number when I tell you that every one of the 7 plants in this video is specifically targeted by the herbicide labels sold in garden centers. Not because they are dangerous to your garden, because they are dangerous to the revenue model. There are 7 plants. I will walk you through every one: the identification, the preparation, the part they never put on the label, and the dangerous look-alike you need to know before you touch any of them. The 3rd plant has a look-alike that causes organ damage within 48 hours. We will get to it, but first, the plant most people are pulling out right now without knowing what they are destroying. The first weed is one you have seen your entire life. It grows in every climate zone in North America. It pushes up through concrete cracks. It follows foot traffic. It grows along the edges of driveways, in lawn edges, between stepping stones. It has been there so long in human history that the Roman physician Dioscorides described its preparation in precise detail in the 1st century AD, in a medical text that remained the primary reference for European physicians for over 1,500 years. Its leaves are broad, oval, ribbed with parallel veins running from base to tip. Look at the underside. You will see those veins raised like cords pulled tight under the skin. When you tear the leaf slowly, the strings do not break cleanly, they stretch. They are almost impossible to sever without cutting. That structural detail, those fibrous cords, is part of what this plant does when you use it correctly. The leaf base wraps around a central rosette. The plant grows flat against the ground in its first year. It does not stand up. It spreads out, pressing itself into the soil in a circular pattern. If you have ever yanked one out of a lawn and noticed how the roots seem almost deliberately anchored, that is not coincidence. In 1940s field medicine, before the wide availability of antibiotics, this plant was used as a poultice for infected wounds, not because it was the only option, because it worked faster than anything else available. A 1942 pharmacology report from a British military field station in North Africa documented wound closure times that the supervising officers considered statistically impossible until they replicated the results 3 times. That report was not widely distributed. The penicillin supply chain had just been commercialized. A plant that outperformed the commercial option in field conditions was, at minimum, inconvenient. The preparation I will give you for this plant comes later, and the preparation is the part that nobody publishes correctly, because the correct preparation requires you to understand what this plant is actually doing at the cellular level. Hold that.
The second plant grows in shade. It prefers cool, moist soil under trees or along fence lines where the afternoon sun doesn't hit. Its leaves are small, bright green, slightly waxy. It spreads by seed and by runners, producing dense mats that cover the ground quickly in early spring. It is soft, almost delicate. Every gardener knows it and removes it constantly, and it keeps coming back faster than it was removed. European traditional medicine used this plant for lung conditions before pharmaceutical respiratory treatments existed. The 16th century herbalist John Gerard described it in his Herbal as a fine, soft herb used specifically for conditions of the chest and throat. He was not speculating. He was recording what European village healers had been using for 300 years before him. Look at the stem on this plant. It has a single line of fine hairs running along one side only, not distributed evenly around the stem, one side. Look carefully. That is your identification marker. The look-alike, a plant called mouse ear chickweed, has hairs distributed uniformly around the entire stem. Mouse ear chickweed is mildly irritating in large quantities. It is not dangerous, but knowing the difference tells you which plant you actually have before you use it. The leaf, held up to light, has no visible oil glands, no dots, no translucence through the blade. Smooth, uniform green. If you see translucent spots or oil glands when you hold the leaf to sunlight, you do not have this plant. Put it down and look again. 3 generations ago, every family with a child who developed a cough in winter knew this plant by its common name. They knew when it grew, where to find it, and exactly what to do with it. That knowledge survived for centuries and then disappeared inside of a single generation. The preparation for this plant changes dramatically depending on whether you use it fresh or dried. Most guides tell you dried is fine. They are wrong. The specific compound responsible for its primary action degrades significantly within 72 hours of harvest, if not processed immediately. Dried chickweed that has been sitting in a jar for 3 months contains approximately 40% of the active content of fresh. This is not speculation. A 2003 ethnobotanical chemistry paper published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology documented this degradation curve exactly. It was published once and not followed up. No funding appeared for a second study. What I have not told you yet about the timing of harvest is the difference between this plant working and this plant doing almost nothing. We will get there.
I need to make a confession here, because I spent nearly 4 months researching this video, and I almost got the preparation for this plant wrong. I had a source, a preparation method I found in a pre-1900 American eclectic physician's manual. The method seemed complete. I used it. The result was significantly less potent than the samples I was comparing it to from practitioners who still use this plant regularly. I went back, I checked every step, everything matched. Then I found a footnote, a single footnote, in a 1908 edition of a pharmacopoeia published in Cincinnati that mentioned the water temperature during extraction changes the compound profile of this plant entirely. Not slightly, entirely. Cold extraction produces one set of compounds. Hot extraction produces a different set. The Ohio eclectic physicians in 1870 knew this. The eclectic tradition called these preparations by different names because they were used for different conditions. When I went back with the right water temperature for the right preparation, the difference was not subtle. Most of what is published about these plants online was copied from other online sources. Those sources were copied from general herbal references. Those references were compiled in the 1970s and 1980s by authors who were working from secondary sources that had already lost the preparation specifics. The chain broke somewhere between 1940 and 1960. What survived in text was the name and the vague indication. What didn't survive was the precision. The precision is what I am going to give you. If you have stayed this far, you are not a casual viewer. Most people who clicked on this video made their decision in the first 90 seconds. You are still here because something in what I've said already matched something you suspected. You were right to suspect it. Everything I've told you so far is the foundation. The preparations, the specific, actionable, step-by-step methods that make these plants work at full potency, start now. And what I am about to tell you about the next plant is not found in any current herbal guide published after 1950.
This is the one that will make you stop and go check your garden immediately. It grows flat, succulent looking. The stems radiate outward from a central taproot in a pattern that looks almost deliberate. The leaves are small, rounded, fleshy. When you break a stem, it snaps cleanly and releases a tiny amount of moisture. The whole plant has a slightly wet, slightly sour quality if you press it between your fingers. The Charaka Samhita, the ancient Ayurvedic medical text compiled between the 6th century BCE and the 7th century CE, references this plant's preparation as a tonic for internal organs in 6 separate passages, not as a folk remedy, as a primary clinical preparation. The Sanskrit term translates roughly to the plant that restores what fire destroys. The specific reference to fire refers to inflammation. In 2022, a study published in Frontiers in Pharmacology confirmed the presence of betalain compounds in this plant at concentrations that measurably reduce inflammatory markers in cellular models. The Charaka Samhita and the peer-reviewed journal were describing the same mechanism 2,600 years apart. It contains more omega-3 fatty acids than almost any leafy plant known to botany, more than flaxseed by weight, more than any plant being sold in the health foods aisle of any health food store you have ever been in. It is not a rare Amazonian superfood. It is not a specialty crop grown in controlled conditions. It is a weed. It grows in your garden. You have probably pulled it out this week and put it in your compost bin.
Spurge grows in similar conditions. It looks similar at first glance, low-growing, small leaves spreading from a central point. Many people confuse it with purslane when they are new to identification. The difference is immediately apparent the moment you apply one test. Break a stem. Spurge bleeds white, a milky latex sap that appears immediately at the break. Purslane releases a small amount of clear moisture, never white,
never milky. Spurge is not lethal in small skin contact, but ingesting it causes significant gastrointestinal damage. The latex compounds are irritants that can cause severe internal distress. There have been documented cases of children requiring medical attention after confusing the two plants. Look at the stem before you harvest anything. Break it. If it bleeds white, put it down. If it bleeds clear or nothing at all, continue. Its name is purslane, and the herbicide industry has a specific product marketed directly at it. Everything I have told you so far is the context. The preparation methods, the actual step-by-step that makes these plants work at full potency, is what comes next, and it is nothing like what you will find anywhere online. If you have made it to this point, you now know more about these plants than most people who call themselves serious herbalists. That is not an exaggeration. Most people clicked away in the first 2 minutes. You stayed, because something in what I said confirmed what you already suspected. You were right. The fifth plant announces itself before you see it. If you have ever walked through an overgrown garden in short sleeves and come back with burning, stinging skin that felt like 1,000 tiny needles simultaneously, you have walked through this plant. The sting is the preparation, or rather, the sting is the mechanism you need to understand before you can use this plant correctly. The stinging hairs on the leaves and stems are hollow. Each one contains a mixture of compounds, including histamine, serotonin, formic acid, and acetylcholine. When the hair breaks on contact with skin, those compounds are injected directly into the surface tissue. The immediate reaction is inflammatory. This is the same plant that 18th century English physicians recommended for arthritis, not because pain was being treated with pain, but because the localized inflammation response triggered by the sting was understood to increase blood flow and reduce systemic joint inflammation through a mechanism that modern pharmacology calls counter-irritation. A 2016 meta-analysis published in Phytotherapy Research reviewed 28 separate clinical studies on nettles' anti-inflammatory properties. The analysis found consistent, measurable reduction in inflammatory markers across multiple study designs. This analysis did not generate a pharmaceutical research program. It generated a small supplement line sold in natural health stores for $11 a bottle. The plant grows wild, completely free, in moist, nitrogen-rich soil, along creek beds, in garden corners, at the edge of compost piles. Anywhere the soil is deep and damp, nettle nurt grows. Harvest the top 4 to 6 inches of growth in spring. Wear gloves. The sting is inactivated completely by heat, by drying, or by vigorous blanching. Once blanched, nettle can be used exactly like spinach in any preparation. It contains more iron per 100 grams than beef, more calcium than milk, more protein per gram than almost any other leafy plant in a temperate garden. Your great-grandmother did not call it a weed. She called it spring greens and harvested it before anything else was ready in the garden.
The sixth plant is one that children find before adults do. Small, clover-shaped leaves with a heart notch at the tip of each lobe. The color is lighter green than most garden plants, almost yellow-green in strong sunlight. It grows in clusters, spreading low across the soil, and the leaves fold inward when the temperature drops or the cloud cover thickens. Watch the leaves in late afternoon. When the light changes, they fold. This is one of the fastest ways to identify it. Taste a single leaf, a sharp, distinct sourness immediately. Not bitter, sour, clean and bright, like the beginning of a lemon with nothing behind it. That sourness is oxalic acid, the same compound present in spinach, rhubarb, and chard. In normal serving quantities, a handful of leaves, it is completely safe.
In extreme quantities consumed daily over extended periods, oxalic acid can contribute to kidney stone formation in people with a specific metabolic predisposition. One handful on a salad 3 times a week carries no meaningful risk for the overwhelming majority of people. Anyone with a history of kidney stones should consult a practitioner before adding high oxalate plants to their regular diet. Wood sorrel, used by Native American peoples across multiple cultures as a food and cooling tonic. The Cherokee used it specifically for mouth sores. The Iroquois used the fresh plant as a fever treatment applied externally. The Ojibwe crushed the leaves with water for a drink used during fever to bring internal temperature down quickly. These are not speculative accounts. These are documented in the Mormon Native American Ethnobotany database, which compiled ethnobotanical records from hundreds of sources spanning more than 2 centuries of observation. The fresh leaf juice applied to skin inflammation is still used by traditional herbalists for immediate minor relief. The preparation takes 30 seconds. Pick, crush, apply.
The 7th plant. I told you about it in the first 60 seconds of this video and did not name it. The pale green plant with the tiny oval leaves, the one that spread across your garden beds, the one you pulled because it was crowding your other plants. Lamb's quarters, Chenopodium album, one of the oldest cultivated food plants in human history. Archaeological evidence places deliberate lamb's quarters cultivation in Europe and Asia as early as the Bronze Age. Carbonized seeds have been found at prehistoric sites across multiple continents. This is not a weed that appeared in gardens by accident. It is a plant that lived alongside human agriculture for thousands of years and was reclassified as a weed at approximately the same historical moment that commodity grain agriculture made it commercially inconvenient. The leaves contain more calcium, iron, and zinc than kale, more riboflavin, more vitamin B6. The protein content of the leaves is comparable to spinach and significantly higher than most garden greens sold in grocery stores. A 2011 nutritional analysis published in the African Journal of Food Science found that lamb's quarters exceeded the nutritional density of most commercially cultivated leafy vegetables measured in the same study. It is available for free in almost every temperate garden on the continent. It grows without irrigation. It grows without fertilizer. It reseeds itself annually and requires nothing from you except that you stop pulling it out. The preparation is this. Harvest the young leaves before the plant flowers, the top 4 to 6 inches of new growth. The leaves at this stage are tender, mild, and carry none of the slightly dusty quality that develops on older growth. Use them raw in salads. Steam them exactly as you would spinach. Blanch and freeze the surplus for winter. The plant that generations of American gardeners have been spending labor to remove from their vegetable beds is nutritionally superior to most of what they planted in its place.
Here is what the herbicide industry understood before you did. A person who grows their own medicine does not need to buy medicine. A person who eats the plants that grow freely in their soil does not need to buy the supplements formulated from those same plants at industrial markup. The $11 billion herbicide market requires that you believe weeds are problems. If you understood what they were, you would not buy the product designed to eliminate them. Medical schools do not teach botanical pharmacology because it is not a billable treatment category. There is no prescription code for harvesting the plant growing in your garden. There is no reimbursement pathway for a preparation that costs nothing to produce. The structural incentive of the medical system, not malice, just architecture, points away from plants and toward products. Products require transactions. Plants require knowledge.
The knowledge was removed from the curriculum, not conspiratorially, systematically, through defunding, through reclassification, through the slow replacement of traditional apprenticeship with institutional credentialing that excluded botanical training. Your grandmother was the last generation taught these plants by name. You are the first generation recovering them. In the first 60 seconds of this video, I described two plants, the one with the fleshy leaves that snaps when you bend it, the one with the tiny oval leaves spread low across the soil. You now know them, porcelain and lamb's quarters. You have been composting two of the most nutritionally dense plants available in a temperate climate every time you pulled them. You were performing with your own hands the same function that the herbicide label was designed to perform. You were the product. You were the distribution channel. That image, your hands pulling roots out of garden soil, dropping free medicine into a bin, is not a metaphor. It happened this week. It will happen next week unless you know what you are looking at. You now know what you are looking at. But here is what this video did not tell you, and what I have been sitting with since I began researching these 7 plants. There are records, pre-Flexner pharmacopoeias, 19th century eclectic medical texts, indigenous preparation manuals that survived in university archives because no one thought to remove them. In those records, there are preparation methods for these 7 plants that go beyond everything I described here today. Specific extraction sequences, specific combinations, specific timing of harvest relative to the plant's growth stage that changes the compound profile in ways no modern supplement manufacturer replicates, because modern supplement manufacturers are not working from those records. I have found 3 of those sources. I have only finished reading one of them. And what I found in the first one, in a 1903 Eclectic Physician's Manual from the Ohio School, is something I did not expect to find written down at all.